I'm going to make raspberry hot pepper jelly today. Now this is something that you can buy in your supermarket or local farmers markets, but I'm going to make it because I had leftover peppers. So what you're going to need is sugar. You'll need 5 cups of sugar. You're going to need pectin, Sure-Jell, 5% acidity white vinegar. You're of course going to need some jelly jars, and you will need bell peppers and hot peppers. We're going to start off with our raspberries to give it the raspberry flavor. So what you'll need is about a cup of raspberries. We'll put those in a heavy bottom small saucepan, and then we're just going to take about a teaspoon, maybe a little more, and dust that over those raspberries just for a thickening agent. As it boils, it will thicken just a little bit. And then we will put just enough water in there, as you see, to just cover them just a little bit. So we will put those on a medium-high heat and let those reduce down and get all that good raspberry juice out of those raspberries. And when that's done, we will strain that to get the raspberry seeds out, because we just want the raspberry juice for our raspberry hot pepper jelly. Now while we give our raspberries time to reduce, about 5 minutes, we can go ahead and process our peppers. Now I like to use a bell pepper, a variety of colors, because I like the variety of colors in the pepper jelly. Today I'm going to use yellow and red. It's about 1.5 cups of bell peppers for this recipe, and that equals out to about 2 medium-sized bell peppers. So we're going to put that in a food processor and chop those up. Now you can definitely chop these on your own if you're a good chopper with a knife, but I like to do this really fast and just throw it in the food processor. Now you can just turn it on and let it process, but that tends to make them just a little bit more gushy, a little too moist. So I'll run it for just a second and then I'll pulse them. I like to get all of that down off the sides. Scooch it back down into the processor and process just a little bit more. And it depends, how much you process depends on how chunky you want your hot pepper jelly. Some people like to have big chunks of pepper in it, and some like it a little bit smoother. I'm one of those that like it to be a touch smoother, so I process it just a little bit more than other people do. And so now we will put that back into our bowl so that we can process our hot peppers. Now you can throw them in all at once, all together, but that tends to not allow the peppers to get processed enough unless you're willing to stand there and poke them back down with a spatula. You're going to need about 2 cups of hot peppers for this recipe, and I like to use a mixture. I use Thai hot chili and cayenne and jalapeno, and that's just because that's what I grew in my garden and that's what I have now. You can certainly use any type of hot pepper that you like, but that adds a nice mix of hot flavors to it. I lost some. We don't want those whole in there, so we'll throw those back into the processor. Now the hot peppers don't have as much of a tendency to get as much liquid in them as the bell peppers do when processed, so you can just turn those on and let those go until you're ready to open the top and make sure that you have it all off the sides. I will warn you, as you process the hot peppers, it's liable to get you choked. Okay, and those are ready. Processed and ready. So our raspberries have reduced and have gotten the liquid out of those. So we're going to take a fine mesh strainer and place that over our measuring cup and just put the raspberry puree into that strainer to allow the juice to drain. We need about 1 cup of liquid. And so if you were not going to make this a fruit pepper jelly, you can just use 1 cup of water in place of this. But we're going to let this strain, and then if it's not quite a cup, which I don't think it will be, just add water to fill up the rest of the way up, because right now it's a pretty concentrated raspberry juice. Now you can use the raspberry puree if you'd like as your liquid or as part of your liquid, but my husband and several of my friends do not like the seeds getting stuck in their teeth, so I always remove the seeds and just take the liquid. So as you see, we have not a cup there. We need to add a little bit of water. That will not dilute the flavor. That will just be a nice raspberry flavor. So what we will do now is go ahead and start our jelly. We're going to put all of our peppers that we processed into a large heavy bottom pan. And as you see, the peppers have liquid in them too, and that doesn't matter. You can just add the liquid and all. You don't have to strain that off. We add that, and then we add our envelope of pectin or Sure-Jell to that, and we add our cup of liquid, water or fruit juice. And if you like, you can just get fruit juice from the grocery store to add to this recipe instead of having to boil your own fruit. But if you have leftover fruit, it's a very easy thing to do to make your own fruit juice. And so now we need a cup of white vinegar. You can just use that same measuring cup because it will wash out some of the leftover raspberry juice that's in there. So we will stir this up all together. This is a real easy recipe to learn canning. If you want to begin canning your own products from your garden, then you can learn on recipes like this. It's super easy because you just dump it all in at once. And so this is what it looks like. You think there's not going to be any liquid there, but there will be. So we go ahead and we put this on a medium-high heat because we do want this to come to a boil. If you're willing to watch it, go ahead and put it on a pretty high heat. So that's what I'm going to do, because I'll be here watching to make sure it doesn't scorch. And so while that is beginning its boil, we're going to get another pan of water. And we're going to put our jar lids in this water and put it on a burner to let those come to a boil. And that is so that it sanitizes your lids for one. You do need to go ahead and wash your jars and have those ready, and wash your lids as well. Excuse me. But if you put those in a pan and let those boil, it will sanitize your lids. And when you go to can actually put the jelly into the jelly jars and you put those hot lids on top, it will seal to the jar, and that will make sure that your jelly stays good for quite a while, for about a year or more. Now this mixture is coming to a boil, and as it begins to do that, you want to let it boil for maybe just a couple of seconds, and then you're going to add in all of your 5 cups of sugar to this mixture. Just dump that right in, stir it in, and that will cool down the mixture somewhat, but you want it to come back up to a boil. And you want to stand here and make sure that you stir this so that it doesn't stick. Now that we've added our sugar, it's way more likely to stick to the bottom of the pan. So we stir this, and we want this to come to a boil again. Now this is coming to a rolling boil. We've been stirring this with our spatula, and you know it's a rolling boil when, as you stir, it still continues to boil and have little bubbles coming up. You can feel it on the bottom too as you stir. And so we will let this boil rapidly for 5 minutes, exactly 5 minutes. And so it's already been going a minute, so I'm going to set my timer for 4 minutes so that we can let this have its exact time to boil. That will help that Sure-Jell, that pectin, to set up and actually make a jelly. We don't want it a runny liquid. Now we've had this boiling for 5 minutes, and we're going to remove from the heat now. We're also going to remove our lids. We've had those boiling in water on a medium-high heat. And so what we do now is allow the foam to absorb back into the liquid. And once that is absorbed, as you can see, we will put it into our jelly jars. All this steam is just great for people with glasses. It steams up your glasses and you can't see much. Okay, we'll lay that aside. So this makes 12 jars, 12 of this size. And so I have some smaller ones to make up the difference there. So we will grab our funnel, put it close. Don't hold the jar. I have made that mistake. It's very, very hot. This liquid is super hot, and you will burn your hand if you hold the jar on this one. Plus, you do not want the liquid to drip down on your hands. That would likely cause a burn. So you just pack that until it's almost to the top of your jar. Move that one aside. And as you see right now, it does look pretty liquid. But over the course of the day, it will firm up and be jelly. So hot pepper jelly is something that a lot of people love, but something also that a lot of people haven't tried. I personally thought it sounded really gross the first time that I heard about it. I don't know why. It was just a mental thing. To me, jelly is a sweet, fruity jelly that you eat on a biscuit. But this is great as an appetizer. If you need a quick appetizer, keep a jar or two of this in your pantry, and you can have a very quick fix if company comes over. It's great on cream cheese on crackers. It's also great, there's a cheese called Manchego. If you slice that up and put that on crackers as well, it's delicious. But a lot of my friends also use this. They will heat it just a little bit, and then they will put it on chicken or fish and use it as a marinade or as a topping for the fish as they're grilling it. And I have not tried that yet, but it sounds really good. So we get all our jars packed. And as you do this, you just want to try to, the peppers and the seeds and things will collect at the top of your pan. And so you just want to dip down and try to get some of the liquid underneath so you have a nice mix of the liquid as well as the peppers that are in the jelly. So I have just a little bit left in the bottom of my pan. And I'll go back and just touch up the tops of these. If there's any space at all left in there. We certainly don't want to waste any of our jelly that we worked so hard on. So now, because that is pretty messy, and you get this jelly, sweet parts of it across the top of your jar, you want to wipe that off before you put your lids on. Or when you go to take the lid off, you will have a super stuck lid. And if you feel any around the edges, you want to make sure to get that off too. But I think I did pretty good this time, and I didn't get it just everywhere. Okay, so now we take our lids that we boiled. And now your jars do not have to be hot, but your lids need to be hot for this. And so since it's in hot liquid, I'm not going to stick my hands in there. I'm going to use my pair of tongs. We just go through and set everything on there, and we'll go back behind here in just a minute and tighten them all up. Now, because this is so hot, I'm using a towel to hold it while I tighten the top lid. And you do want to get those just as tight as you can. That will aid in the sealing process. And so now you have raspberry hot pepper jelly. So hot pepper jelly, whether fruit flavored or your regular sweet hot pepper jelly, is great as an appetizer, quick appetizer, or just a quick snack for yourself with crackers and manchego cheese, or with some cream cheese. Maybe not the lowest fat, healthiest thing, but it is delicious. So you just take a little bit and dollop that right on there. It's delicious, and it's very impressive for your guests, especially if you made it yourself.